right? We all need food so we don't go hungry. I mean, and then sometimes we struggle to get food for a multitude of reasons. Even I struggle to get food sometimes, whether if I'm like I don't have enough money or like I can't go to the store for whatever. So this speech is going to be about an organization that fights against hunger. Some of you may have heard of them, some of you may not. Who knows? So enough talking, enough chit chat. Let's just get right into it. Now my service was done at the Arkansas Food Bank. Again, I'm sure some of you may have heard of them, some of you may not. Now according to ArkansasFoodBank.org, their mission is that they are the foundation in the fight against hunger. They find pathways to connect people, resources, and food to those in need, providing dignity, hope, and a brighter future for all Arkansans. Now, I have a story for this. Now, they aren't very eventful, but I'll try to, summarize it in the best way that I can. And I don't know if they have a beginning, middle, and end, but I won't include it. So the first day was me just labeling bags. And to make things even to picture it in your mind, just imagine me at a little table in a big warehouse. It was a big warehouse. So, and across from me was a conveyor belt, and it was just probably a small group of people, maybe about like this size of the classroom, where it was just an assembly line where they were packing different things into boxes and shipping them off. And so I observed that from where I was at the table, and for a while I was just labeling, bags, and they were bags for corn. And then after a while, the supervisor came up to me, and he was just like, "Hey, you're done with all the bags, let me show you how to do this." And so what he did was he showed me how to tie one end of a strip of mesh. Very simple, super easy to do, no problems. And so he showed me that, and for the rest of my shift, which was 2 hours, I just tied the end of a strip. And I was like, I learned something new. So that was day 1. Now day 2 was a bit more eventful, at least for me. But in day 2, I was working in a small kitchen, probably about like this size of a classroom, maybe a bit bigger. And there were different stations with different people. One was for labeling bags of corn, one's for labeling boxes. Another one was for, putting corns into bowls and sending them off to the, bag labelers is what I call it. And so throughout that shift, I never just stayed into one station. I just moved around a bit. I always asked other people to see if they needed help, whether I needed help, like putting corns into bags or labeling boxes or, getting the little bowls for the corn. So that was what I did. I never actually, it was different than day 1 where someone came up to me. In day 2, I came up to them and I asked them to see if they needed any help. So now I've gone over the main course of the speech. Let's start nitpicking the stories I've given to you. Now the first communication concept, because this is communication class, is group socialization. Now the definition, according to chapter 13.3 in the textbook, is the process of teaching and learning the norms, rules, and expectations associated with group interactions and group member behaviors. Now, an example of this was on day 1 when I was observing, well, not necessarily day 1, but on both days where I was observing different groups of people. Now, it was more prominent in day 1, but I noticed it in day 2 where there were different groups of people and they just understood what to do. They understood the rules, they made sure everything was streamlined. There were never any issues whatsoever. And I thought that was really nice to see. Now, the second communication concept is informational listening. Now, according to chapter 5.1 in the textbook, informational listening is listening with the goal of comprehending and retaining information. Now, an example of this was day 1 when my supervisor came up to me and he showed me how to tie a strip of mesh. He grabbed the thing, tied it up, and physically showed me. Now, that example illustrates that if I had to listen, if not, I would have sat there at the table lost like I was a kid lost in Walmart. So I had to listen informationally to understand, how to strip a mesh. And so basically I had to listen in order to understand what he was teaching. Now, enough about the textbook, let's move on to the syllabus and my own communication skills. Now, a communication principle, as you can see up here, that I could use to improve my communication would be that communication is irreversible. Now, according to the syllabus, that means communication is a dynamic process that cannot be reversed. Now, I chose this principle because I have a hard time of making mistakes when I speak. Sometimes I'll say things without even realizing that they're bad, and I won't know until I say it out loud and someone points it out, and I'm like, oh, shoot, I didn't mean to do that. And so I chose this concept for that reason, and a way to, use that concept to improve my communication is thinking before I speak. Sometimes I still do this now, is where before I'll say something, especially in like texting, because I'm sure all of y'all like to text your friends. And so what I'll do before texting is I'll look over my message and be like, how is this gonna go? Is this gonna go one way or go to the other? So I'll think, and if I feel like it's gonna go too negative, I'll completely redo the message. If it's more positive, I'll send it out and hope for the best, because that's how I operate. Now, enough about that. An ethical communication value that could strengthen my communication in my community is respect. Respect is a big part, and I'm sure all of y'all apply to that without even realizing. But the definition, according to the syllabus/survival guide, is actively listening to and showing regard for the ideas of others before evaluating and responding to their message. Now, I chose this value because I want to set a good example for people. I know it's hard, being the quiet kid, and I don't go up to people very often, and I wear all black. But even then, I still want to show respect. And I'm pretty sure I did that while I was volunteering, because, I never talked back, I never said anything rude. I made sure to think and, say thank you and, just basically treat people the way I want to be treated. And so I feel like that value can better my communication in my community, is just to set a good example for myself and for others. And I feel like that could apply to you, that could apply to anybody, because being respectful can better yourself in your community, better yourself, and better, just better the world in general. Now, I'm running out of time, so let's wrap this up. So, volunteering at the Arkansas Food Bank was an eye-opening experience for me, and it was just really nice to see, this organization, which I've actually had history before, way before this assignment, and it was just nice to see the inner workings and seeing people, seeing the connections that they made, like they mentioned in their mission of making connections with people. That was one of the very first things that they mentioned. And so it was nice to just see the connection and seeing the communication skills in the organization. And it was just really nice to see. Even if it's just for one assignment that I'll probably never do ever, it was just really nice to see. So with that, I'll end with this. Communication is everywhere. It is the foundation for every organization you see, no matter what. Thank you. Have a good day.